Today we have our first guest of the series. Um, Scott, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background?
Hey, so Scott Shimamoto here. I'm with Journey Mortgage Advisors. I'm a residential mortgage broker. So I've been doing this since '02. So I think that's what, 22 years now?
Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I've been doing this for a long time. And it's a crazy business, but it's fun and it's very rewarding when we're handing keys to people, especially first time home buyers. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
No, absolutely. I remember that from my real estate agent days. The best part was giving that new buyer or buyer the set of keys to their home. That's an awesome feeling. Um, so what kind of inspired you to get into mortgages, or what got you there?
All right. So I used to be in the telecommunication business a long time ago. And this is when I'm old. I'm old. So this
It's
is
okay. We
when
all are.
this is when I was having a national account and they had this thing. It was a like a spoke and hub situation where they had backbone data lines going back to their regional offices, and on the back end of it, they had this chain around them to the branch offices. And the backbone, this was big time in those days. The backbone was 56 kilobit. And then the back end was a 9.6 multi-drop, what they call multi-drop shared data line. It was crazy, but that was state of the art back then. And I was in it for a long time. And what happened was the technology started getting, way better, and you needed bigger bandwidths. And we also got paid on the long distance calls, which young people don't even know what a long distance call is, right? When I started, it was 45 cents a minute to call New York, right? When I ended, it was about 5 cents a minute to call New York. This is a long time ago now. Now it's free, right? So I'm like, well, I got to get out of this. And then, because I was working twice as hard, make half the money because there was just less revenue in it. And the other thing that happened was there was a bunch of crooks in the business, and older people know about like the WorldCom scandal where they're cooking the books, and it was a mess. So I left that. I said I need to get into something that's going to go up in value. The revenues will continue to go up, and I'm going to get away from all these crooks. And so I got into the mortgage business, and about like 5 years later, all the crooks had followed me into the business, and that's when they had the big crash in the early 2000s. I'm like, man, there's a lot of crooks in business, but I'm not one of them. If I was, I wouldn't be working anymore. I'd be sipping mai tais on the beach or something. But yeah,
or
it's
in jail, right?
yeah,
They
in jail.
popped a
What
bunch of guys. I remember that.
Yeah, so but I joke about it, but it's true. There's a lot of crooks in business, and it's really important to align yourself with honest people that what is it? They do what they say they're going to do. Well, I say what I'm going to do, and then I do what I say, or whatever. But being honest, that's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so can you describe kind of what you do and what kind of services you offer?
Okay, so I provide loans to people who are trying to buy a house or who have a high interest rate and need to lower their rate, or have compiled a lot of debt and they need to consolidate the rate because maybe their debt is at, what are credit card rates, like 23%, 24%, something like that right now. And they need to, hey, it's Eric again,
Yes.
the AI note taker. He wants to get all the knowledge.
He wants all the information for sure.
Yeah. I also do reverse mortgages. Uh, we don't talk about it in our networking group because that's not my seat. But in the wild, I do reverse mortgages as well, and that helps seniors who might be house rich and cash flow poor, or who want to just they want to take equity out of their house and maybe invest it in another property, or they want to help their kids buy a house, something like that. I do all of those things. So I basically help people to achieve whatever dreams that they have in the real estate world.
Right. And I know being in the business, it helps to have a large portfolio of things to offer your clients for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. Um, so what makes what you do unique to the vast sea of mortgage lenders and reps in the industry here in Southern California?
Okay, so there are three types of lenders out there that do mortgage loans. One is if you walk into the big bank, that's good for people who maybe they don't understand really what's going on in mortgage because they're new at it, right? And or they don't have a good go-to mortgage broker, right? So the advantage of the bank, you can trust them because they're a big, they have a big name, you know where they are and everything else, right? So that's the upside. The downside is that you don't have access to multiple products a lot of times because you have XYZ Bank, you have their version of the loan, and if if you don't fit in their box, then sometimes you can't even do the loan. They might reject you because they might be a little stricter than some of the other lenders that are out there. And right now, I'm talking about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. Those are what they call conventional loans. Well, even FHA and VA. Those are the common loans, and those are the ones you see advertised on TV and all that good stuff. So the 80% of the loans are those types of loans. Then there's a direct lender. A direct lender is a little more flexible because they have access to multiple lenders in the background. What they'll do is they'll underwrite the loan, they'll process the loan, and then they'll sell the loan off to, one of the either a wholesale lender or one of the big banks or something like that. They'll just sell it off. Um, Good news for them is they do have choices. So if you don't fit inside the box, then they could take you to a different lender, right? And you only have to deal with one person. The problem with the direct lender is the direct lender has a finite amount of loans that they could process because they process and underwrite their own loans. So if they're not staffed up large enough, and then you have maybe all the rates went down, and then now you have a refinance boom or something like that, their bandwidth in being able to handle that loan is it may not be as good as someone who doesn't have to worry about staffing up or downsizing, depending on market conditions. The other issue with direct lenders, a lot of times, even though they have multiple lenders, they still will a lot of times have one rate. And that rate has to be able to handle whoever has the highest rates in their background portfolio of loans, right? And then, but they might have some lower rates, but they can't give you that lower rate a lot of times because they have to price it to where they don't lose money on any deals, right? So those two, they could be good depending on how you're handling your business and how you like dealing with people and who you want for your loan officer. And then there's the broker world, which is the hot channel right now. The broker channel was kind of dormant for a lot of years because after the financial crash, the media was calling all lenders brokers, which they weren't. But the broker channel did not have a good PR department, so they couldn't say, well, it's not just brokers, it's brokers, it's direct lenders, and it's big banks. They're all committing fraud, and that's why we're in this situation. So we ended up in a situation where the brokers weren't, no one wanted to touch them with a 10-foot pole. Consumers didn't want to talk to them. But over time, it's been since '07, so that's what, I don't know, close to 15 years. So the broker channel's been making a huge comeback in the last maybe 7 to 8 years. And now it's the hot channel because we can go to any of these wholesale lenders, and these wholesale lenders have to beat the big banks because nobody knows who these wholesale lenders are. So they have to be, better than the big banks. And then because we as brokers are not committed to anybody, if we need someone who's flexible, we need a flexible lender, we're going to take them there, right? Sometimes those flexible lenders are a little higher on the rate because they're taking along a little more risk. But at the same time, someone as a buyer, they can buy the house and start the American dream, right? Or if they're a perfect client, we could take them to any lender, then we'll take them to the one with the lowest rate. Or sometimes we need to take them to a lender that needs to close really, really quickly, and we'll take them there. So we have access to multiple lenders with multiple prices, multiple guidelines, flexibilities, and we don't have to make that decision until way down the line. So you only have to deal with one person, and that person is me. So I call it, it's like playing poker with wild cards, or it's like playing poker when those guys are on TV and you can see what the whole cards are when you're watching Texas Hold'em on World Series of Poker, something like that.
Right.
So I feel like I'm in the right channel, and I can go to whatever channel, right? I mean, everybody's always recruiting me to come and work for them, but I'm choosing this channel because, to me, if it's a winner for me, it's going to be a winner for the client and vice versa, because we're a team. And as far as me personally, if you're going to deal with me, the good news is I own my own house. I own my own rentals. I buy houses. I sold houses. I know what mistakes I've made over this long time that I've been dealing with real estate. And I could tell the client, this is what happens in real life. And there are a lot of people in the real estate business, as you know, Rick, that do not own their own house even. So how do they know? How do they know? They're just coming out, oh, I have the best rates, or, oh, I have the best this, or the best that. But can they explain to a first-time home buyer how to build generational wealth, how to make somebody else pay for their mortgage down the line, or how to do different things in building their generational wealth? That's where I come in, because I have this experience. I also deal with, of course, a lot of realtors, because I have to deal with them because I do my business. It's like 90% is referrals. More than 90% is referrals. That could be from family and friends, could be realtors, could be repeat clients, could be guys like you who, you're out there taking pictures of houses and you're working with a realtor and they don't have a good lender, and you know me, and we got to know each other over the past few months really, really well, and we're referring each other business. So all those things come into play. Like I bring that kind of value to the client, which is just not, oh, I'll process this loan for you in X amount of time. Anybody can process a loan.
Right. Well, and I think for me too, like I think having been through the process personally, having been a real estate agent, but also having bought and sold multiple homes, the process can be really stressful for people, for whoever's in the transaction, whether it's a buyer or the seller or both. Right. This is the largest investment most people make their entire lives. And it's a very stressful process, and to have gone through it yourself gives you that understanding and a little more empathy, I think, and compassion for these people, to help them through the process, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because exactly what I do is, I remember the first time I bought a house before I got in the business, and I remember what I went through. And I remember I know the stuff I liked, and I know what I didn't like, and I know why I didn't like it. And so what I've done is I've built my business around creating proper expectations. It's a paper chase. There's no question about it. There's a paper chase. It's stressful when you get in escrow. That 30 days goes by like that. And I have it set up to where I'm requesting all the information from the client ahead of time. I'm telling them why I need it. And then I'm telling them, when we're done with this initial pre-approval situation, that the only thing we're going to have to do down the line is I'll just have to update pay stubs and bank statements, as opposed to I have to get your driver's license, I have to get your W-2s, your possibly tax returns, depending on your situation. You know what I mean? Like I'm giving that to them all at one time. And I'm also big on checklists, because people say, is it like rocket science? I'm like, no, it's more complicated than rocket science.
Yeah, right?
Right? Because you have to launch the rocket, but there's also the personalities involved, there's the time constraints and everything else, right? So I'm really, really good at that piece of it. I'm not afraid to tell the client, no, you're wrong about something, because I don't want the client to step in a hole because they have misinformation about some aspect of the business. I'd rather say, look, this is why what you're telling me is not correct. This is why it's not correct. This is why I personally would not do it. Now, at the end of the day, it's your choice. You do whatever you want, but I'm going to try and keep you from stepping in this hole, because stepping in a hole in real estate, it's hard to lose money if you do it right. But if you don't do it right, there's a possibility that you can lose big money. And we don't want that. It's not our job to just get you into a house. It's our job to get you in there and then keep you in there. So I'm not going to just tell you, okay, well, here's your monthly payment on the loan. And then you think your payment's X amount, but I don't tell you about property taxes. I don't tell you about insurance. I don't tell you about the utilities that you have to spend, because we don't want you to be, I mean, your choice, you have a choice to do this. We don't necessarily want you to be house rich and cash flow poor, where you can't go on vacation or you can't do anything. You might make that decision where you're like, okay, well, for the next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to put it all into the house, and then I won't take the vacations for the next couple of years. But we don't want this to be for the rest of your life. We want this to be where you get in, you're comfortable, you have a little bit of a cushion in case something happens. If someone gets laid off, you're still able to stay in the house without getting foreclosed on, things like that. I'm trying to give a holistic, this is how this real estate investment fits into your life, your financial future. And obviously I'm networked with people like financial advisors that are go-to guys that can set the people up as well for what they need to do down the line. I have estate planners so that people could set up their living trusts. If they're realtors, then I have guys like you who take unbelievable pictures of these houses and help the person, if they want to sell their house to buy another house. They have to market it right. They got to have a guy like you to, show how great their house is, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, things like that. So I have this team of people that I work with, and yeah, it's something that especially first time home buyers, they don't necessarily have that kind of network of people that they could trust that are going to be on their side and have their back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, backing up a little bit, sort of, what kind of challenges did you face when you started out, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So, okay, before I got into the loan business, I was always in a situation where I had a base salary and then commissions on top of it. And I was never in a situation where I was 100% commissions.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, it was kind of scary to get in the business because of that. So I started at a big bank, and I was lucky that I was in a situation where rates were on the way down at that time. So we were in the middle of a refinance boom. So working in the bank, I'm getting leads all the time, right? They're just walking in the door, or they're calling in and they're saying, "Oh, I have this loan, I have this rate, and we heard rates are down. What are they?" And then I could just quote the rate, and and we would even go into the database of that bank and see who had the high rates, and we'd reach out to them. So that was how I got in and learned the processing side of it. I already knew the part about why you need to invest in real estate, or why, what the loans are all about. And I had refinanced my own properties, prior to getting in the business. So I knew all that piece of it. So that part wasn't bad, but the part of jumping in and not having that base salary, kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good because I was able to learn that part of the business. And then I started, knowing that the refinance boom was not going to last forever, and the purchase, market was going to be the place where that would sustain me over the long term. So then I started networking with realtors and letting other people know that I was in the business, and then just got that critical mass. And then you do a good job, you keep on going, and you get repeat business and all that. And yeah, that's how I got in, and that's how I stayed in. And yeah, like I'm in a networking group, and it's a really strong networking group where we're referring business to each other, and that's helping as well. So yeah, it's a trip. It's
Awesome.
a
Awesome. Hey, so do you have like a memorable success story or like kind of a highlight of your experience so far, or some big challenge you overcame with a buyer, or
the success stories. A lot of them are real similar. They're kind of like the ones where they had challenge credit at the beginning, and they had no chance of buying at the beginning, and I refer them to a buddy of mine that's super good in fixing credit, because not everybody who claims to be able to fix credit can fix credit. And I saw, this guy's credit score went from like 570. And by the time we got him in the house and everything else, I mean, it was like 720. When he
nice.
bought the house, we were like, I want to say like 690 or something like that. But we got him into the business. We got him into the house. We got him in at the right time. He's probably up about, right now, he's probably up about 140,000 in equity in the last, I think he bought that house about 5 years ago because it was before COVID. But now he added to the house and everything else. I helped him get a home equity line of credit behind it. So now, I mean, I'm not counting the part that he added to the house, but he was renting, throwing money away, and now he's got this asset that's growing for him, and he's got this pride of ownership. He's a happy guy. Credit
No,
score up
absolutely,
there.
man. Absolutely. That's the dream, right? For sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how do you engage with your local community?
So I do a lot of so my side gig, I do stand-up comedy on the side and a little acting. And so the stand-up comedy, one, it's stress relief, but two, it really allows me to meet a lot of people. And a lot of people don't want to deal with a stuffy loan officer. So what I try to do is I try to combine my love of comedy with my need to promote my business, and I'll do a lot of fundraisers for the community. We were doing comedy shows for the American Cancer Society. We did, I want to say, 14 in a row, 14 annual in a row. And we lost a little bit of momentum last year. We didn't do it last year, but we're planning to bring it back to life. Just because the people who were helping us promote the show, we needed more people to help us sell tickets to raise money for the American Cancer Society. But things like that, or when kids are doing, playing soccer, or they're playing baseball or something like that, and they need to raise money for uniforms or something like that, I'll do fundraiser comedy shows for them. And one of the guys in my networking group, he helps impoverished women in India learn how to read and write so that they could break that cycle of poverty and become their own, become independent, where they could get a job, where they could read a bus schedule, where they could do the math and not get ripped off when they're buying stuff at the store in India. So we did a comedy show for them, and helped them raise money for their cause. So for me, it's fun. It's rewarding because the nonprofits or the youth sports, they're getting something back, and they're having fun doing it. And that's how I do, like, give back to the community. Sometimes I feel,
Awesome.
yes, and sometimes I'm like, am I really giving back to the community because I'm having so much fun doing it? But then I think about it. Well, the bottom line is, if I didn't do this, maybe nobody else would. And those causes that are very, very needed in our community would not be able to keep doing what they're doing to help. So, yeah, that's what I like doing, and
Cool.
it's
Yeah,
really
and I think this kind of rolls into the next question is how do you balance your work and your personal life?
so. Okay, so there are times when in our business the phone's going to ring and it's going to be an emergency, and it's 11:30 at night or something. That happens every so often. If it's a true emergency, I'm going to pick it up. But if it's like, oh, what are your rates looking like or something, that could wait till the next morning. You know what I mean? And I'm good at trying to shut off the stress when it's not time to have stress.
Right.
Um,
It's a hard business not to answer your phone. Like,
yeah,
I remember when I was an agent, I was answering my phone at 11 o'clock at night.
yeah,
And my wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
yeah,
"I have to answer the phone." So you
yeah.
never know who's on the other side. So being able to get that balance and filter that stuff out is definitely huge, right?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I'll tell my clients too, I go, look, if you can't, like, some people can't talk during the day even because they're at work and they can't talk during the day. I'm like, hey, if you need to talk at night, let's talk at night. Let's just set an appointment, and just don't abuse me with a question about, what's the difference between a fixed rate and a variable rate at 11:30? And that's not gonna, you know what I mean? But if it's a true emergency, yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. And
Sure.
when I get that call from my favorite fan, Scam Likely, I let that go to voicemail.
Yeah. That
He
seems to
called
be
at all hours.
the most calls I get are
Yeah,
from that family.
Scam Likely is the best cold caller in the world.
Right. So what are your goals for your business for the next few years?
I want to. What I want to do is I want to even my business out between first time home buyers and um, reverse mortgage people, because a lot of my friends are getting to that age where they're needing to do a reverse mortgage, or they want to help their kid out. They want to pull the money out of their house and help the kids with a good down payment,
Yeah,
and they might be trying to retire themselves, so they're not going to be able to qualify for a traditional loan, right? Because they're not going to be able to show the income to do that, and they may or may not have assets or something where we could do that. What they call asset depletion, where we could take the asset, turn that into a cash flow equivalent, qualify for a loan, or they might not want to have a monthly mortgage payment. They just want to have, they want to pull the money out and all that. So I want to emphasize that more. Maybe a third of reverse mortgages, a third first time home buyers, and a third regular refinances, just traditional refinances. Yeah, so I've been emphasizing the reverse mortgages more lately. It's a huge market.
what it's kind of scary to think that I'm actually approaching that age or might even be at that age. What there's a certain age requirement in order to get into a reverse mortgage, right? And it's the oldest spouse. It doesn't if it's a couple that's on title, it doesn't have to be both of them, correct?
So 62, one of them needs to be 62.
Okay.
And so like I'm there. So if I want to do a reverse mortgage, I could do it with my future ex-wife that's going to be in her 30s. So we'll figure out a way to do it. She may or may not be on the reverse mortgage because she's so young. But I could be, and she could just live in the house. And there's some rules and of how that would work when I either have to move out because it's a owner occupied product, so the person needs to be 62 and older, must live in the property, and must be alive. Can't
I
be.
thought there was a provision if you pass during that time.
Yeah, yeah. There's a yeah. You could. There's ways to do it, but most of the time the people who are doing this, they're both over that age, and the other piece of it is you have to kind of work it out with an estate planner as well, because there's potential tax implications and everything else. And I'm not licensed to give that kind of advice,
Right.
but all of it needs to be looked at holistically. So, yeah, so some of those rules or some of those situations, like their individual case basis, it may or may not be a good thing to do it.
Got it. Got it. So let's see. Do you have any upcoming projects or events you want to tell us about?
Okay, so I was in a movie that it's was in the theaters here in Southern California in the LA area, and it came out on October 11th. It's a movie called Holy Cash with Paul Rodriguez and Paul. Okay, it's two Paul Rodriguez's. Paul Rodriguez, the comedian that was in a bunch of movies and had his own show on TV back in the. He was huge in the 80s and 90s.
I remember Paul
Yeah,
really
Paul.
well.
Yes, I'm not in there for a long time, but uh, I was in the theaters and I saw my name rolling down in the credits, so that was the first time for me, and that's one bucket list item I get to check off the list with being a movie in the theater and have my credits show. And then the other Paul Rodriguez is his son, who's a world class skateboarder.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Paul Rodriguez Jr. is like he's a street skateboarder, and he's more famous than his dad right now.
Oh, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, it's big time. It was unbelievable that two people from the same family are that famous. Well, for us, he's may not as be as famous because if you're not a skater and you're not following that scene. But but yeah, I'm trying to get more comedy gigs because I lost a lot of gigs when this my comedy mentor, his name was Rudy Moreno. He passed away earlier this
Oh, I know
year.
Rudy Moreno.
Yeah,
Really?
so oh my God, that guy's first of all super cool guy and a great mentor to many comics. And he helped so many comics in Southern California to get to the next level of whatever they're doing. If they're low level, he got them to that middle level. If they're middle level, he got them to the higher levels. He had like he used to book guys like Gabriel Iglesias and Ken Jeong and like Sherry Shepherd, like all these people, he helped them along the way get to where they got to because stage time is part of it, advice is part of it. But when he passed away, I did not realize how many gigs I was getting through him, how many times he was booking me. So I'm reestablishing my comedy network. Um, so I don't have anything big coming up, but if anybody out there is, if they want to do a fundraiser for their soccer team or baseball team or whatever, get a hold of me and, I'll talk to them about how to put one of these shows together, how to make a nice fundraiser or
Awesome.
nonprofits too. I'd love to help them put something like that together.
So, do you have a club that you kind of work out of?
So my,
Kind of keep your
my,
chops
ori-
up?
yeah, my original club was the Ice House. That's where I started. And I took a class there with a comedy teacher. Her name is Bobby Oliver. She's still teaching comedy. She's out on, I think she's in Koreatown now. She helps a lot of people too. So I was at the Ice House. Um, but I also do an open mic. It's called the Joke Gym. And right now we're out in Eagle Rock, but we have a joke gym, www.thejokegym.com. If you are interested in doing comedy or you want to see how we work comedy out in a safe setting, that's what we do at the open mics. As well do new comedy. Like tonight, we're actually doing one tonight, and I'm going to be doing a bit I've been thinking about for a long time, but I just haven't done it. It's about me growing up being a short kid because I was 4'8" and 80 pounds starting high school. I should have gotten my butt kicked every day. I didn't. I played sports. I shouldn't have been playing sports because I was like just a little shrimp out there. But I started my freshman year in right field, but I started at the high school level, so that was pretty good. I had to overcome this lack of manliness and strength.
So Joke Gym, that's an actual location that you guys have, or it's a website and you do different shows at different locations, kind of thing.
So we branded our open mic as the Joke Gym, knowing that sometimes a business will either not want to do comedy anymore, or sometimes the businesses go out of business. And we had to take time off, during COVID because we couldn't go in person, and a couple, we lost a couple of venues because the business went out of business.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's kind of a moving target. So we use the Joke Gym website as letting people know, where where we're going to be doing it.
Okay. All right. So if people want to check it out, they just go to jokechim.com and
Um,
they can see where any upcoming shows are, that sort of thing.
that's correct. Right now, it's the second Tuesday of the month, and yeah, it's so far we've been at this restaurant called Relentless out in Eagle Rock, South Colorado. Uh, Sometimes parking is a little tough around there. There's a lot of street parking, but sometimes you might have to walk a couple blocks. But we'll be out there. Well, this is not going to air at the same time we're recording this, but second Tuesday of the month. Um, yeah, if you're interested in coming out and trying out some new comedy or just seeing how it works, get a hold of us on that website and get on our mailing list.
Yeah, absolutely. That stuff can always be pretty fun too. You never know who's who's coming through and what to expect. Um so here, if you could describe your business in 3 words, what would they be?
Whoa, that's a good one. You know, it is rewarding, it's stressful, and it's fun.
Okay, fair enough. Now, just to kind of wrap up, obviously we see your screenshot, your backdrop, but is there a website that you have for your business as well?
Yeah, you can go to journeymac.com and or you can see my email, scott@journeymac.com. But we've got some, calculators on there, and we've got, information about the kind of stuff we do and, my background, my bio, things like that. But the best way to get a hold of me is email me or call me and set up a time and we'll sit down, we'll talk about your needs, see what you're trying to do. I might be able to give you some ideas about things you should be thinking about when you're looking at potentially buying a house. And don't worry if you're not, you might not be ready to go like right now, but I've worked with people where I talk to them and we don't do anything for 3 years. But my job is to let you know what the real deal is on buying a house, mortgages. My main tagline is your deal is no joke to me, but my second tagline is I can't tell you what you want to hear. I need to tell you what you need to know. And then, like I said, if you can't do it right now, don't worry about it. I need to have people that I'm dealing with because at some point the deals are going to close. Um, I'm going to tell you how to get in position to buy a house. Could be finding a co-borrower, could be trying to get a gift from a relative, could be a situation where we need to fix your credit, and that might take, 6 to 9 months, depending on how bad it is, may take a year. Who knows? You might be just finishing school and you need to know when you could buy a house, and you need to know how much money you need to save up. It's not as much as you think. Sometimes we can get in as little as 3%. Sometimes there's 0% down programs. All that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what's going on, and then you can figure out what you want to do from there.
Got it. Got it. All right, man. Well, it was good talking with you. I hope we can get your business out there and expose you to some people that you weren't exposed to already. I know you're a great guy. I love working with you. You've obviously helped me with my business with referrals, and it's very much appreciated. And we look forward to talking to you again, man.
Yeah, man. And thanks for when I did refer those clients to you. Thank you for doing a great job because when I refer you, that means I'm putting my own business and my own reputation on the line. And then when you come through for me, it makes me look good. You look good. We all look good. Everybody wins, right? But yeah, thank you very much for doing what you do and doing it the way you do it because you make me look good out there.
Outstanding. Thanks, Scott. Have a
All right.
great one, man.
Thanks, Rick.
We'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care, man.